Growing a small business is exciting, but it can also get confusing fast when the numbers start pulling you in different directions. Robinson Aquino, CEO of JBS Corp. And author of The Small Business Money Game, created this book to help business owners better understand their finances, spot the growth plateaus before they become roadblocks, and make smarter decisions as they scale. To celebrate the launch, Robinson is giving away free copies of his brand new book. Want one? Go to thecovertcode.com to learn more.
Aloha, my name is Anna Covert, and I'm coming to you from my battleship here on the beautiful island of Oahu. This week on the Covert Code, the topic is why job seekers can't afford to play small. And my special guest is returning for her second Covert Code appearance, the amazing Gina Riley. Hello, an executive career coach at Gina Riley Consulting. She's also known as a LinkedIn top voice and author of the Amazon bestseller, Qualified Isn't Enough. So last time Gina was on the show, which is like about 6 months ago, we, of course, talked about this exact topic, why qualified isn't enough. And I invited her back because people just loved your episode so much. And now with what's going on out there in the job market, I think it's great for you to come back and tell us more about, why professionals can't afford to play it small and they need to stop holding back. So let's jump right into it. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So since your first appearance on the Covert Code, tell us, what have you seen in the job market that's concerning to you?
The thing that is the most concerning for the job seekers that I hear and see on LinkedIn and the people that I work with every day is there's more competition now for especially fewer leadership roles. I'm working with leaders primarily. And when you look at the tip of the triangle, there's less jobs to begin with. And it just seems to be shrinking a bit, with all of the layoffs. And sometimes there's company acquisitions these days where an entire leadership team will get laid off from the acquired company. So a lot of competition, really long hiring cycles. So what I tell people is when I first start working with them, they're like, well, I have an opportunity. I'm going to start interviewing. I'm like, cool. You'll be lucky to have an actual offer if you're the top candidate in 4 months. That is good. 4 months is amazing. It's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months as you go up the hierarchy, unless you end up getting referred and you're just a shoo-in and they're not interviewing other people. So longer hiring cycles. It's so much more important to demonstrate your impact now and not just have a stale resume. And then we've got AI that is making it easier to apply, increasing the competition, and it's also reducing people's differentiation,
yes.
Right? So sure. Leaders are getting lost in the noise and they're following a lot of bad advice.
Wow. Yeah. And so what was a typical before this, 4 months, 6 months, what was a typical cycle before that you were seeing for hiring like this?
I have seen this all along. I think that it is just exacerbated by what's happening in the economic system, political system, business climate, tariffs. Just go down the list of all the things happening, and it just takes longer. The decision makers are scared to make a bad decision, and sometimes they drag their feet, or it could be timing. It could be, if it's summertime, it might be one of the key decision makers is on vacation, and they're simply not going to decide all that. They don't have their act together sometimes to make these decisions, and it leaves candidates to wither in the wind for a long time and think that they're not wanted.
Wow. And I mean, and then that's incredible. And how many, now with all these applicants, I think that is the key part. It's the same thing we're seeing online of just parity. Like now with AI, it's wonderful because people can, have a good professional look, but then everyone starts to sound the same.
Oh, yeah.
Are people using AI to screen the applications too?
Yeah. So if you let AI write your branding materials and your marketing, your resume, and your LinkedIn, you surely will be putting yourself at risk of blending in with everyone else. And especially if you're using a lot of AI speak. But what was your question, Anna?
Oh, I guess, are we still seeing that AI is actually reading the applications too? Or that's not really for the executive jobs. Or what's happening with that? We heard a lot on the street about that.
Okay. So let's start with this. If a person is a true leader, executive, aiming for those higher level jobs, they should be spending only a tiny fraction of their time applying online. That means they're not worrying about if AI is reading their resume and application. They are doubling down. 95% of their effort is on relationship building, networking, and gaining referrals. So let's say someone is spending time applying online, which is valid, but I'd say 5% for very senior leaders. If you're getting a response rate of, even 5%, that's better than average. It's not good. I mean, you're not getting seen in those systems, and it's not AI's fault. It's a bunch of things. It's how how it's configured to be used in the first place. It's how the recruiters use the system. It is how AI is reading and sorting the content. And sometimes, Anna, it is the job seeker's fault, where there's 4 pre-qualifying questions and they don't answer them correctly. Are you willing to work for $150K? No, I want $250. Okay, you're out. The recruiter never sees it because they answer the question and the recruiter only has a budget for XYZ. So if you're answering those questions, are you open to relocation? No. You're out. You have to answer the questions in a way that fit in the box of what the recruiter is going to market for. And it's not the recruiter's fault. They're following the instructions of the hiring manager.
I mean, it's like if you're going to go buy pants and they're like, oh, well, there's no small. Would you have a medium? Well, no, I'm not going to. I mean, obviously, you're not going to get those pants. You know what I mean? Like, they don't fit.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think matters more today? Is it qualifications, experience, or visibility?
Okay. Qualifications get you considered. That is I call it minimum bar to entry. It's your seat at the table to even get considered. The experience you have proves your capability, but visibility is what creates your opportunity. And if you are not being seen, you are not getting heard. You have to get seen to get heard. And if you are just sharing your visibility without creating value in your ecosystem through your thought leadership and your helpfulness, then you're just making noise, because it's all noise now. You go through LinkedIn and everywhere, it's so noisy. So you don't want to be visible and risky. You want to be visible and adding value.
Yeah. So this idea, let's talk about the idea of playing small. Because I think that in my side, as, kind of personal branding is something that we at the agency are doing a lot more of. I'm doing it for myself and I'm really passionate about it. Just in general, I think it's a great opportunity because for so long we've seen that leadership is hidden behind the company. Right. And a lot of times you kind of like, oh, it was almost endearing. This is years ago, right? We're like, oh, okay, I get it. They want to be, they don't want to like be on the forefront. They want to be part of this collaboration but now that's kind of out the window. Right. And so what does playing small mean to you?
Yes, you're right. Leaders have to step up and they need to do it yesterday. So I think there is a fear of appearing self-promotional, but going back to the value proposition, like the value that you offer and the impact you make, that's the positive impact you can have in the ecosystem without being self-promotional, sharing what you actually know. The other danger about playing small is waiting to get noticed. I call that getting plucked from obscurity. No one's coming to rescue you. You are not going to get saved. You own your own career. And so if you're just waiting for someone to notice how awesome you are, you're probably going to be waiting a long time because other people are stepping up and getting with the program. I also think that senior leaders can suffer from imposter syndrome, which might hold them back a little bit from stepping out with their thought leadership. And this also can cause people to retreat and not expand the relationships that they need to. What if you were expanding your relationships and your network when you didn't have to, right? If you have a healthy network, then your confidence goes up, especially when you need to be a job seeker. So those are some of the things that I would say about playing small.
Yeah, I think what you just said made me think a lot about like the law of attraction, and if you're just waiting, like you get what it's like the mirror, the reflection in the mirror. If you are frowning in the mirror, you see a frown back. The reflection can't smile at you because you're frowning, right? So if you're just waiting around to be noticed, who's going to notice you? If you're looking at yourself in the mirror, are you going to notice yourself? Right?
Oh my gosh, I love that. That should be the next LinkedIn post. That's really well said. I really, really
Thank you. Well, and, I really think I think a lot about that in recent, because I'm really into meditation and manifestation, of course, and just that you. So I think that makes sense. And and where does it come from? And just like people have all these, I think, problems we're realizing in now in our community of how they relate to money, as a for instance, like not thinking that they are worthy, or that's where that imposter syndrome comes from. Right? And really digging deep and saying, like, well, why don't you think you deserve to be at the forefront, or be leading this group, or be asked to speak, or whatever it might be, and kind of like drilling down. I mean, what do you think is it one of the most common things you experience, is people being afraid have this imposter syndrome?
The way that I don't address imposter syndrome as a specific topic with my clients, but I do things that help alleviate that. So I'm not talking about it as a topic, but let me explain. And this kind of goes back to qualified isn't enough and phase 1 of my book. The first 5 chapters lay the groundwork. Thank you so much. My branding of the purple in there.
I love it.
The first 5 chapters help a person develop their unique value proposition. It is brick by brick all my frameworks. How do we avoid imposter syndrome? By tapping into what makes us uniquely us, with our natural talents that are the statistically valid. StrengthsFinder is one of the tools I use within the UMAP profile. What is our approach to leadership? What is our unique career story and the themes and patterns in the career that inform how good I am at what I do? What are the impact and results repository that I can develop that will help me explain what I can do for you if you hire me? And then developing the tell me about yourself narrative. All those are in chapters 1 through 5. How do you overcome imposter syndrome? You get very grounded on why you're awesome at what you do. Why you? That's what you have to answer for the hiring team.
Yeah. And if you're not looking for a job, I think this is really interesting. It's like, okay, so you're going to get out there, you're going to be visible. That does not mean sitting in front of your computer and posting on LinkedIn, although that is a strategy. But you have to get out there in the community, and what are some of your tips on how you can start to become more visible without being salesy or sleazy?
Yeah, staying visible. I mean, I do love LinkedIn. I'm on it all the time, every day, sharing posts and insights about the lessons that you've learned along the way. I have a great story on working with, and he's actually featured in my book with an anonymous name. I was working with a chief technology officer who wanted to move from his job to another one. He was ready for a new thing. He would be leaving a team of 200 engineers behind, right? And to go to the next job, which was an incredible opportunity. But as we talked about thought leadership, he said, I don't know that I have anything all that special to share. What is it about what he goes, I don't know what to talk about. So I asked him these questions. I'm like, so when you leave this job, is there any one of the 200 that's ready to step into your role? No. Is there anyone in the 200 that has been through an M&A transaction? No. Is there anyone on the team that has also been a consultant on top of being a technology leader, working for a consultancy and advising other companies? No. I'm like, don't you think you've got content for days? That your first audience are your own employees, the people that follow you and want to know that you're credible and trustworthy. And so when I started to help him shift his mindset, he started to see the light, and he got himself on a podcast after that, which was super cool. But you can speak, you can mentor other people, you can do volunteer leadership to showcase what you know. I interviewed an amazing woman, HR leader, who talks about volunteer leadership and being a leader at her statewide SHRM, which is the HR organization in one of the top ones in the country. That's where she got visibility, and she got her last 3 VP jobs because she was visible and got tapped on the shoulder. Staying active in these professional communities, networking regularly, and then building your reputation before you need it.
Right. And that's the difference between self-promotion and strategic visibility. It's like that you're not just like walking around like, being kind of thirsty, I'll call it, even if you're at a bar, like, but instead you volunteer, you put yourself out there, and then you attract to you the attention that you deserve.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What other things are people doing to stay small or just missing the mark?
Oh gosh. I think some of the biggest challenges people are facing are a hybrid of the overusage of AI and diluting their actual brand, and then the lack of ability. Because of that, they think it looks really good, right, Anna? It sounds smart, but then they go out to market and they're trying to get people to refer them, but their own network, the people that already know them and trust them and like them, can't refer them because they're confused by the messaging. So, that's one thing. I think that a lot of mistakes also leaders will fall into the trap of relying on their resume too much. The resume is a leave behind. The referral in the conversation is the lead. And then you have to have the resume to back it up. Having generic profiles, that does not serve people. Not coming with a clear point of view and, really understanding the impact that a person can make, or being on LinkedIn and only posting when they're job searching. And then it feels really weird and kind of gross, right? So, there's a lot of things that people are doing that are just, they're missing the mark.
Yeah. And then, another thing that I always thought about, that why isn't anyone doing it? Just the same way that we do regular advertising, like B2B, or if you're trying to target, for example, business owners are a really hard thing to target.
Yeah.
Because they don't open their mail, they're overwhelmed with emails, they're busy, right? They're not gonna be looking online for, let's say you're trying to buy solar. No, they're not gonna be like looking for, that's just not. So how are you gonna get a hold of them, right? They have gatekeepers. Well, so for us, I've always been successful with FedEx. Right. So I did a campaign once. It was an example. This was years ago, but it was for an exit planner. And we identified an industry. It was construction at the time, where we found 10, 20 companies that matched, that they had been in business a certain amount of time. This was the owner of the company. He was still working there, right? And we got his name. And then we started a FedEx campaign, because FedEx is something that all business owners usually open.
Yes.
Right. So then we sent really interesting things to him. The first one was a little bit generic, but it was, just an invitation to like a lunch and learn, like a beautiful invitation. The second was this little mini baseball bat, like when you're ready to break free, like, right. And the last one was a burner cell phone with one phone number on it. It's like when you're ready, where your only call you need. And half of the people called. Right. So at that same strategy, I thought, why don't people use it for let's say you're not an executive, and maybe you don't have the referral network, but you know that you're qualified, or this is a company that you want to work for. Can you use some breakout visibility techniques to not just submit that application the same way? I mean, is anyone doing things like that? Like really, putting something together that is like a pop-up resume.
I haven't heard of too many of those. Honestly, that is so brilliant. I was like in my mind taking notes. I'm like, but you're so creative, Anna.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, then you can step out and just really, I mean, it could even be like a little thumb drive with a story about like, all of the whys, or, like a picture book or whatever it might be. But I think it's time to really take control back and not be a victim to what's happening out there. Because I mean, are you also hearing on the other side, are people just getting completely defeated? Because that's what I'm hearing from some of my network, of that I just don't think I'm going to get a job in this industry that I'm in. Like, and
of course, there is a defeatist mindset, but that's not going to serve the person that has it. And so my recommendation is to build up a support team during that time. And I would say, don't allow your partner or spouse to be that only person. I think that you need to have, it could be a job seeker support group. It could be a coach. It could be, any number of things that a person could, a little team of people, that accountability partners and whatnot. So do something to help yourself, so that you don't lose that hope, because I know there's a lot of hopelessness out there right now.
And I think that then just some of these techniques, if you are listening, like just to take control. I mean, you can start going to some networking events. Just get outside and don't just sit in front of your computer and submit from Indeed.
No,
like that's not the answer.
We know
and
it's not.
Yeah, and it's almost like it is like a dopamine boost. Even I'm hearing now that there's some stats about like just the high you get from applying. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting, right, to think about. But then it's also a big low when you don't win. And are there any other like retrainings that you're hearing about, or people getting, taking some other? Is there any other opportunities or that you might have that people to be educated in maybe something, are there any new classes? I know you're talking about public speaking just a minute ago before we got on. Like, So tell us about some of those things people can do.
Yeah, the cool thing about doing, improving your speaking skills is it helps you with your executive presence or your professional presence and how you present, how you speak in a fluid manner, and that how you gain trust quickly. So that's great. But let's talk about the biggest thing today is AI and how we use it to have an impact. And so I'll talk to people who are like, yeah, I'm taking some classes or I'm dabbling with AI. Awesome. I just saw in my feed that Harvard has some 10 free business classes that, people could take. So yeah, I saw they weren't all for me because it wasn't going to help. Anyway,
they're shocking. Just that's look at me shocked. They're not going to charge anything. I mean, like, wow.
I know. So you can go and take classes, but what I am encouraging anyone listening here to do is don't just add that to the bottom of your resume. You need to show how you are applying the knowledge and how you would use it to have impact. And when I say impact, think dollar signs, percentage signs, number signs, and increases or decreases in something. Did you increase production because of something? Did you decrease, throughput time? What did you do with the AI? And I realize that some people who are job seekers and not sitting in a job, you're not using it inside the company, but you need to figure out how you can demonstrate the knowledge of how you could use AI to accelerate the business.
Right. It's a great idea. It's like almost like, okay, if you're in a job right now and they're not listening to you, and that's a common thing. It's like, oh, my boss doesn't listen, or I have an idea of how we could do this report and it'd be more meaningful, or we'd save time. Everyone's just doing this manual database entry or all these different tools. Take that as an opportunity then to create a couple prompts, use fake data, and show the job that you want. Hey, like this is
what I could do. Yeah. And it also shows the way that you think and that you apply your knowledge. Anybody can put prompts in and try to create a resume. But if you're talking to a writer that uses AI regularly and knows how to pull out the genuine, authentic content that's needed to develop a really great resume, that's going to show up. That there's a differentiation. Job seekers can't see maybe what that differentiation is if they hire, and I'm not calling myself a resume writer, but if they hire a writer who charges a lot less and has less experience and uses AI in a bad way, you're going to get generic results. I have the same thing. The reason why I do what I do and the reason why I wrote my book is so people could pull out the authentic, true content about themselves. You will have the things you need to feed into AI if you go through all the exercises.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Like, so what are some of the biggest mistakes people make on LinkedIn when trying to position themselves for future opportunities?
Oh, goodness. Well, the first thing I would say is just thinking of LinkedIn as your online resume. I think of it as your marketing storefront window. So you put up your wares and I'm strolling by and I'm seeing what I want to see and I'm going to come inside the store, right? What does that mean? You've got to have an updated resume. You've got to have a resume. LinkedIn, you've got to have the banner with your value proposition on there, a great headshot, doesn't have to be paid for. You can just do it with a smartphone. A headline that tells me what you do, an about summary that tells me what you do. I'm coming from a recruiter perspective. Part of my background is executive search and corporate HR. I don't want, like, when I was a little boy on the farm, in the about summary, I want to see I am an operations leader in healthcare. Okay, I know I'm on the right profile. Healthcare, operations, cool. Then tell the little boy story. But I need to see that in the first couple of lines. You've got to have, all of the stuff on there. But most importantly, instead of treating it like a resume, treat it like a broadcasting system, a way for you to share your thought leadership, post, put in short form video content, something. I know it's uncomfortable, especially for those Gen Xers and the boomers that are still in the market. I know it's uncomfortable, but try it. You'd be amazed at how much, visibility you get. So you don't want to be generic.
You know, much easier it gets too. I mean, like I'll say just from my personal experience, and I've, after I wrote my book and wanted to do more public speaking and just do it. It's just like Nike. You just got to do it, and you just got to film it and just do it. And it doesn't matter if you have a smudge on your face. You can just be like, okay, well, the rest of it's good enough, right? And then
it's good enough. I know.
It's good enough, yeah.
When I first started shooting video, I was so worried about getting it all right and buttoned up and, edited just right. And I would spend way too many seconds trying to shave off a half a second. I don't do that anymore. I shoot with my iPhone, up and down, under 2 minutes if I can. If I kind of screw it up, I'll redo it and try, but one take wonder. That's it. I know what I want to say. I get on and say it with confidence, and then I upload it. Let it be. Yeah, and those do well. So showcase your point of view, and don't only post when you're job searching, because that's when everyone goes, "Oh, are you job searching?" That's what happens. And then another mistake that a lot of job seekers make, especially executives, is they talk about the responsibilities that they had and not their impact. So think about resumes and the LinkedIn that say, responsible for blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. But then to what end? What did you lead? What did you develop? What did you create? You've got to show impact. And I do talk about how to show impact in chapters 3 and 4 of my book, where I give you a framework that I borrowed with permission from my friend Sarah Johnston. And she's a resume writer and has a team of writers. And she uses a formula called RAS. And it's result, action, situation. And if you start to write your bullet points and your information on your LinkedIn with that formula in mind, you have a better shot at making sure you're leading with the result action situation. So, gained 25% more client base because I implemented the system and led a team and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, that's great. I think another thing that people are missing now, at least in my experience with AI, and now I'm using AI every day. And I'm just loving it, right? And I have all of them. I got Claude on my desktop, and I'm using Chat, and then I'm using David, and it's amazing, right? Of course, but you still got to flex that muscle. We wrote our books, we didn't use any AI, obviously, and
not at all. Yeah,
I know, and I would have wanted to. It would have felt like that was, and I didn't, use a ghostwriter either. And I was really passionate about writing my own book, so I'm going to be writing my first fiction this summer in Sweden, and my promise to myself is that I will not use any AI, so that I can continue to, if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of stuff, right? But I think one thing that I'm noticing is that can really make a big difference for people who are listening is think about how you want people to feel about this, right? Mm-hmm. So everything is just it's like orders, but you want someone to read this and feel what about you? That you were that you were a team player, that you went above and beyond, that you were creative and innovative, that you were a problem solver. What is it beyond the actual, because that's what makes it human, right? And when someone reads it, and then those words, especially if you are using AI to help yourself, it's amazing if you start asking it for the feeling of how you want the person to read it to feel, and you'll see the results will change.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. So, okay, we talked about AI. What else here? For someone who feels they become invisible within their organization or industry, what's the first step to rebuilding their professional presence?
Oh, goodness. Well, first thing, you got to get over the idea that you're being self-promoting, that look at me mentality, because what you're really doing is shifting your mindset from self-promotion to strategic visibility. How do you create value? How do you help other people? How do you lead and mentor? Those are the things that we want to be seeing from you. Can you teach me something rather than bragging about something? Can you share your insights with me instead of just sharing your accomplishment milestones? So the visibility strategy is all about how you can help other people. And going back to my client example, there were many, many stories he could tell about all kinds of topics, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's just one of my clients. So, and now that we have AI, if you go do all those exercises in my book, the chapters 1-5, and then you develop a resume in your LinkedIn, and you do your interview prep in chapter 7, you upload all your stories and all your content into AI, you can get back a thought leadership plan. That's what I've been working on actually today. Our massive AI prompts using my clients' inputs to come up with like 10-page strategies on like all the things they could talk about.
Are you using the AI as a trainer for them to ask them questions for interview prep? It's incredible.
Yeah, I haven't done that so much because I use a framework where I'm converting everything into behavioral questions.
Okay.
And I'm using their background to also give them things that they should watch out for. Like, and then I'm also asking AI to pull out a story or two that relate to that AI can see, but then they have to work out their own story using the SOAR methodology. But I haven't used it that way, Anna.
You should ask it. So once you train it with all your content, or say, hey, I have an interview. Like this is for let's say anyone who's reading your book.
Yeah.
Once you do all Gina's tests, you're going to say to AI, okay, hey, I have an interview. This is who I'm interviewing. I want you to interview me 10 questions. And then you're going to respond. You can talk to the AI and it can give you some feedback, right? Based off of what it's learned. But then it's like, so people who want like a lot of practice, and you can't always have the coach, or you get nervous. It's like, hey, you can just have it. You can be like, I want 10 more questions. Ask me 10 more questions. Ask me 10 more questions. It can be infinite and it can give you feedback if you want it, but it can also transcribe them. And then you can like look at them later too. And that's actually kind of fun. Yeah.
I have not done that yet. Most of the things I'm doing are in person. They're building it. They're using their own brains.
Yes.
They're building up their stories, because ultimately, if you're an exec or a leader, you're going to be in the room eventually with human beings, and you can't rely on all of that. So you've got to have authentic confidence that you can deliver the stories. And so I just do it.
This would just be AI asking you questions. You still have to be talking back.
Yeah, you have to.
You'll be talking to it. It's just practice. It's not like, but still, I think you're 100% right. Like, there's all the human skills of looking in the eye and reading the body language that it's never going to be able to replicate.
It's amazing how important eye contact is. That's part of, your presence. I spoke to a very accomplished leader yesterday on a call on Zoom, and for the first 5 minutes didn't look me in the eye. And it was not because there was a monitor somewhere else, but he was looking at me like off center. And part of it was, I think he also was carrying shame for an extended job search and whatnot, and just didn't have a lot of there was something going on there. And finally, when I kind of had his attention and started to make him feel more comfortable, he started looking at me in the lens. So wow, how important that is. If you're looking off to the side, you're making that other person feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, or it's like, are you even paying attention to what I'm doing, right? It's like, are you doing emails? Like, are you like multitasking? It's like single tasking over here.
Yeah, I was not impressed.
Wow. Yeah. And then you're like, now we know why you don't have a job. No, just kidding. That's brutal. Well, I mean, it's the truth. The truth hurts sometimes. Yeah. So is there any, what are you looking for? Like, I think, what are some signals that recruiters and leaders are looking? How do you know that they're hiring?
Yeah.
That they weren't, that were today that's different from before?
Well, I'll shift this a little bit into like, what is it that you need to be signaling to recruiters that help you stand out as an ideal candidate to enter the whole process of there. So something is showcasing adaptability, and you can't show up and say, I'm an adaptable leader. You need to be able to infuse into your storytelling how you're adaptable, how you help teams adapt, how you lead through times of change and transition. So one thing is adaptability, and also I think EQ, emotional quotient, reading the room, that human factor, because we don't want to hire jerks. We don't, right? Because that is a culture disruptor. also influencing people across functions, even if you don't have position power. Your ability to influence other people is a huge part of what we do in our corporate ecosystems, right? Another, as we mentioned briefly, is executive presence, how we appear, how we speak, how we behave. So that's appearance, communication, and gravitas. So you've got to showcase that. And like I said, the man looking off to the side, that was not good EP, executive presence. Are you good at change leadership, and can you demonstrate it through your stories? So I'm giving you kind of buzzwords and phrases, change leadership and adaptability. How? Ask yourself how. Learning agility. Like, how quickly do you learn? What are you doing to stay current? And this is the biggest fear for people who are in my age category, Gen X and, younger boomers, is, are we relevant? You have to build a relevant story for yourself. No one's going to do it for you. So are you agile in learning and progressing? And then can you leverage AI effectively? These are going to be things that recruiters are going to be assessing.
Yeah. Wow. Are you seeing any, is there anything shifting with globally? Is that also impacting our job market? Does it just make me think about it? Because, for instance, one of my clients here, they were using the Philippines for their call center.
Yeah.
And with all the regulation changes, and then now AI, the answering the phones, and I'm not sure. I'm on the fence about the AI answering phones between you and I. Some of the data has been incredible, and I listened to a couple calls that were shocking because people here in Hawaii, they talk like pidgin, which it's like a dialect, like a Ebonics kind of, right?
Okay.
And so I'm like, there's no way that AI is going to be able to do this. And I listened to a couple calls, and I was like, wow, this is amazing that it could do it. But even then, are you seeing that? Is there anything globally that we should be on the lookout for, and how it might impact us here in America, or no changes really?
I don't have one solid answer for that, to be honest. I think that there's all kinds of things that affect leadership here in the US, though, and one example was what I mentioned with acquisitions. I've spoken to 2 CHROs this year whose companies were purchased by companies outside of this country. And so the entire leadership team was let go. So I think paying attention to what's going on in your corporate environment and having awareness about whether or not those transactions could even be a possibility, and getting ahead of it by showcasing your thought leadership, making sure your LinkedIn profile is awesome, have a resume ready to go, and have your stories ready, and network and talk to people, all the things.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's really great feedback. I guess is there anything else that's next for you? Are you working on, what's the Gina story? What's happening? What are you working on?
I've got a couple things to brew, but I'm not writing my next book. I can tell you that. So I admire that, and I also admire that you're doing a shift in your topic of choice. But no, for the most part, my focus are on my my private one-on-one coaching clients, delivering content for a couple of different communities that I'm in. I sit on the board of directors for the Intel Alumni Network. We have 18 recorded sessions on YouTube where I'm guiding conversations either with experts or leading it on my own. And so those are all discoverable, and people can get free content that way. So I spend a lot of my time doing that, and then building up my private LMS, my learning management system, with I'm converting all my chapters into into a course. So that's something they're interested in, kind of like the Gina earworm. I've got that will be all there with downloadables and all the things to be a companion to the book, with the coaching that you can't hear past the pages on the book. So.
Well, that is exciting. That's really exciting.
A lot of work. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And AI is not building my slide deck, so it's all me.
Sometimes I just feel like that's almost easier. I mean, so there are times where, you put it in there a couple times and you're like, you know what, I can do it myself, right?
Yeah. I know. I've had so many people go, why don't you have AI do that? I'm like, let me show you the slide deck that I put together. And then when they see how complicated, I'm not saying congested, but complicated my processes are, I'm like, AI cannot sort this out for me. I have to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's just, for me, it's like, watching it evolve so quickly. And one of the things I'm really excited about that you might, I'll send you a link if you want to see it, is the image to like how people can, learning is changing. Right. And, I'm dyslexic. So the way I learned was different than others. Right. And now you can just even things that like, I could do the same chapter in your book as a, for instance, and I could be like, I want to learn visually. Right. And put it into note, like a note taker, and it would then create a movie for me.
Oh, neat.
I could watch the content. Right. Or, so I think just, how people learn and being able to like leverage behavioral learning or just ways people learn in different ways can be really interesting. So it's kind of like, the contents here, pick the way you want to consume it. Might be the kind of the future of just everyone wants something custom for themselves now. Right. And we all feel like we deserve it. Right. And we do, I guess. But
why not?
Yeah, why not? Well, thank you so much for coming back. And how can people get a hold of you once again?
Oh, gosh. GinaRileyConsulting.com. My email is at GinaRileyConsulting.com. And I'm on LinkedIn every day, unless I'm on vacation. So I post there. I write a newsletter. I'm about to start a Substack. I keep saying it. So,
wow.
Yeah, I know. It's another place, to showcase thought leadership. And so, I have to take my own advice, Anna.
Yeah, well, good for you. Well, we're rooting you on over here. And thanks so much for coming back. And to all of my listeners, thank you so much for joining me again. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so. We are just approaching 200,000 subscribers. I think actually even today we might have hit it. And that's because of you and your aloha. So continue to share this content with your friends and family so I can get more great guests like Gina to come back again and new guests to share their wisdom with us. And I cannot wait to see you next week in the Pixels. Aloha.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Covert Code Podcast. If you're loving the insights we share here, don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more digital innovators like you. Share this episode with your friends and colleagues on social media and help spread the word. And if you're in the solar space or just curious about where clean energy is headed, I'm thrilled to announce my brand new podcast, The Solar Coaster. This show digs into the real stories, trends, and challenges of the solar industry, with bold conversations and powerful takeaways you won't hear anywhere else. Follow The Solar Coaster now so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the pixels. Aloha.
Hi, my name is Robinson Aquino. I'm the author of The Small Business Money Game, the hidden strategies that turn survival into scale. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about why I wrote this book. Growing up, I was an avid fan of Monopoly. I like to think that I was the best player in our house, but my brother Alex dominated the board whenever he could. And it was one of my first early lessons in economics, what taught me that a game that should be fair, where we all start with the same assets, where we all earn the same income, quickly turns into a game that is quite unfair, a game where the minority owns all of the assets. And as I studied finance and economics, and as I spent the last 12 years working with entrepreneurs, I've learned this money game that we call business is very similar to that little game of Monopoly. In this book, I've written strategies on how to price, on how to manage costs, on how to scale businesses, and more importantly, where entrepreneurs consistently get stuck. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Game on.